That morning, I opened the door holding a dish towel. A woman asked, "Is your husband home?" Then she said, "I'm his girlfriend. He told me you were his ex-wife." My knees went cold when she touched her stomach. So I let her in. For a few seconds, I just stood there in the doorway, staring at her like my brain had refused to translate what she said. She was pretty in a soft, nervous way. Brown hair pulled back. Cream sweater. One hand wrapped around her phone, the other hovering near her stomach like she didn't even realize she was doing it. I said, "What did you just say?" Her face tightened. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know this is awkward. I just need to talk to him. He's been avoiding me, and I can't keep chasing him like this." "Who are you?" She looked past my shoulder, into my house, then back at me. "I'm Natalie." The name meant nothing to me. Somehow, that made it worse. "And you're saying you're my husband's girlfriend?" She blinked at the word husband. Then she frowned. "He told me you two were divorced." The hallway behind me suddenly felt too small. Upstairs, my daughter's cartoons were playing, bright and cheerful and completely wrong for what was happening downstairs. I looked at this woman on my porch and felt my body go cold before I felt angry. "Vincent and I are not divorced," I said. Natalie's mouth opened slightly. I added, "We are not separated either." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The wind moved a few leaves across the porch. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked. It was a normal morning in every possible way, except my husband's girlfriend was standing in front of me, looking like I had just ruined her life by telling the truth about mine. She shook her head once. "No," she said. "He said the divorce was almost done." "It's not. He said you only still live together because of your daughter." "We live together because we're married." Her face shifted from confusion to disbelief, then to something close to fear. "He told me you were his ex-wife," she said. "He said you refused to move out." That hit harder than the girlfriend part. Cheating was one kind of betrayal. But building a whole fake version of me so another woman could feel sorry for him was something else. I should have shut the door. I know that. I should have told her to leave, protected my daughter upstairs, and kept what little dignity I had left. But Natalie looked trapped, not innocent, not guilty, just trapped in the same ugly story from the other side. She swallowed and said, "Can I come in?" I heard myself say yes. So I stepped aside. And I let my husband's girlfriend walk into my house. She followed me into the kitchen. The same kitchen where Vincent and I had argued about bills, packed school lunches, helped our daughter Chloe with spelling words, and sat half asleep over coffee on Sunday mornings. Natalie looked around like she was trying to match the room with whatever story he had told her. There were Chloe's drawings on the fridge, Vincent's mug in the sink, my sweater hanging on the back of a chair, a grocery list with his handwriting and mine mixed together. She sat at the table. I stayed standing for a moment because sitting across from her felt insane. Then my knees went weak and I pulled out a chair. Natalie put her phone on the table. "He told me you knew the marriage was over," she said. "He said you just didn't want people knowing yet." I laughed once. It sounded ugly. "He said I didn't want people knowing?" She nodded, wiping under one eye with her thumb. "He said you were sensitive about appearances. That you didn't want other parents at your daughter's school gossiping." That was so specific and so cruelly believable that I almost admired how carefully he had built it. Vincent knew exactly what would make me sound difficult without making him sound heartless. He knew I hated school gossip. He knew I cared about Chloe having stability. He knew I didn't like airing private problems in front of people who barely knew us. So he took real pieces of me and rearranged them into a woman he could cheat on. I said, "Show me." Natalie hesitated, then unlocked her phone. The first message I saw was from Vincent. "I miss you already." It was dated 2 months earlier. 2 months earlier, he had told me he was exhausted and needed to sleep in the guest room. 2 months earlier, I had stood in that doorway asking if he still loved me, and he said, "I'm just tired, Rebecca." My name is Rebecca. For years, Vincent used to call me Becca when he was happy, annoyed, or trying to make me laugh. Lately, he only called me Rebecca. Never babe. Never honey. Just Rebecca, like I was a coworker he had to tolerate. Natalie scrolled. There were pictures. Nothing explicit at first. Just enough to hurt. Vincent smiling at a restaurant. Vincent holding a drink. Vincent in the blue shirt I bought him last Christmas. I stared at that photo for too long. He had told me that night he was at a work dinner. I remembered because Chloe had lost her first tooth and waited by the door with it in a plastic bag, wanting to show him. He came home late and kissed her forehead while she was already asleep. In the photo, he looked relaxed. Not tired. Not stressed. Happy. Natalie said quietly, "I met him at a fundraiser." He said he was separated. He said you both dated other people. I looked at her. Did you ever ask to see divorce papers? She flinched. No. Did you ever ask why he still lived here? He said he was trying not to disrupt Chloe's life. Of course he did. Every lie had our daughter wrapped around it like a shield. Natalie kept scrolling. The messages got worse. He had painted me as unstable and manipulative. According to him, I cried to control him, used Chloe to punish him, and forced him out of our bedroom. I sat back. He moved into the guest room, I said. Natalie looked confused. He said you kicked him out. I shook my head. He told me I kept him awake. Then he just stayed there. Her eyes filled again. For a moment, I hated her. Not because she was crying, but because part of me wanted to cry too, and I did not want to share the room with her grief. I did not want to comfort the woman who had been loved in the spaces where my husband had abandoned me. Then she whispered, I really didn't know. And I hated him more. Because he had made both of us audition for the role of crazy woman while he stood in the middle pretending to be the victim. I asked how long. Natalie looked down. Since January. January. I could have named every month from then until now by what he took from us. January was when he stopped sitting beside me on the couch. February was when he forgot our anniversary dinner and said he thought we agreed not to make a big deal out of it. March was when Chloe had a school performance and kept looking at the empty chair beside me because Vincent said he couldn't get out of work. April was when I asked him if there was someone else, and he looked at me like I had slapped him. I can't believe that's what you think of me, he said. And I apologized. I actually apologized. I told him I was scared, and he let me feel guilty for almost finding out the truth. Natalie's hand moved to her stomach again. This time I noticed. The room narrowed. I looked at her hand, then at her face. What else? She went still. I didn't know how I knew. Maybe it was the way she had arrived. Maybe it was the fear under all that anger. Maybe some part of me had already seen the answer standing on my porch. Natalie's voice was barely above a whisper. I'm pregnant. The words didn't land all at once. They floated there, impossible and ugly. I looked toward the hallway, toward the stairs, toward the ceiling above us where Chloe was still watching cartoons. My daughter was 6. She still asked me to check under her bed for monsters. She still believed her father hung the moon even when he missed things. Now there might be another child. Another life pulled into Vincent's lies before even being born. I asked, does he know? Natalie nodded. He said he was happy but scared. He said he needed time to figure out how to tell you. My stomach turned. How to tell me what? That he had a girlfriend? That she was pregnant? Or that I was supposedly already divorced and refusing to move out of my own house? Natalie started crying. Not dramatically. Just quiet tears she kept trying to wipe away. I know how this looks, she said. I know I look stupid. I wanted to tell her she should have known better. I wanted to ask how a grown woman hears, I still live with my ex and child, and thinks that is a clean situation. But the truth was, I had been stupid too. I lived with him. Washed his clothes. Made dinner while he texted someone else from the garage. Asked for honesty and accepted crumbs because I didn't want to be unfair. So I didn't call her stupid. I just said, you're not the only one he lied to. Natalie looked at me for a long second. Then she said, he was supposed to come over last night. He didn't. Then he said he needed space. I asked if he was really leaving you and he got angry. He said I was pressuring him. That sounded like Vincent. Whenever he was trapped, he became offended. Not loud. Not explosive. Just wounded enough to make you feel cruel for asking reasonable questions. I picked up my phone. Natalie watched me. What are you doing? Calling him. Her eyes widened. Now. Yes. My hands were shaking, but my voice felt strangely steady. Vincent answered on the 4th ring. Hey, he said, casual and warm in a way I hadn't heard in months. What's up? I stared at the kitchen wall. Your girlfriend is in our kitchen. Silence. Not confusion. Not shock. Just silence. Then he said my name. Rebecca. It was not a question. It was a warning. That tone made something inside me harden. I said, come home. Listen to me, he said quietly. Whatever she told you. She showed me. Another pause. Then his voice changed. Lower. Tighter. Do not do anything stupid. I almost smiled. Even then, with his lies spread across my kitchen table, he was still trying to make me the dangerous one. I said, you have 20 minutes. Then I hung up. Natalie stared at me like she wasn't sure whether to be grateful or terrified. I walked to the sink because I needed to do something with my hands. The cereal bowl was still there. Chloe's tiny spoon was next to it. A drop of milk had dried on the counter. That was the part nobody tells you about betrayal. It doesn't always happen in a dark room with thunder outside. Sometimes you find out your marriage is over beside a cereal bowl while your child's cartoon theme song plays upstairs. Natalie said, "I'm sorry. I didn't look at her. I heard you. I mean it. I know. I didn't come here to hurt you. I turned around. You came here because he hurt you." She didn't deny it. That was the first honest thing between us. 23 minutes later, Vincent's car pulled into the driveway. I heard it before I saw it. Same engine. Same tires over the loose patch near the garage. Same ordinary sound that had meant my husband was home for years. Natalie sat up straight. I stayed by the counter. Vincent opened the front door with his keys like nothing had changed. Like he still had the right to walk into this house and decide what version of reality we were all going to use. He stepped into the kitchen and stopped. For 1 second, his face showed everything. Fear, anger, calculation. Then he put on the face he used in public. Calm, tired, reasonable. "Natalie," he said, "you shouldn't be here." She stood so fast the chair scraped against the floor. "You told me she was your ex-wife." Vincent glanced at me. "Can we not do this in the kitchen?" I laughed under my breath. He looked irritated. "Rebecca, please. Can we talk privately?" "No." His jaw tightened. "This is between us." "Which us?" I asked. He didn't answer. Natalie said, "You told me the divorce was almost done." Vincent held up one hand like he was trying to calm a room full of children. "It's complicated." That word. Complicated. He said it like betrayal was a scheduling issue. I said, "No. Complicated is splitting holidays. Complicated is custody. Complicated is trying to explain to your daughter why her father moved out. This is you lying." His eyes flashed. I lied because I felt trapped. Natalie made a sound like she had been slapped. "Trapped," she said. "You told me you loved me." He looked at her. "I do care about you. Care. Not love." Even I heard the downgrade. Natalie heard it too. She took a step back. Vincent rubbed his face. "I was trying to handle this without destroying everyone." I said, "You got her pregnant." The words came out flat. His face changed again. Not guilt. Annoyance. Like I had said the private part out loud too soon. Natalie whispered, "You told me you were happy." "I was scared," he said. "You said happy." I said a lot of things because I didn't know what to do. There it was. The closest thing to honesty he had given either of us. He said a lot of things. That was the whole story. I looked at him, this man I had loved for a decade, and realized I was not looking at a stranger. That would have been easier. He was not a monster hiding under a mask. He was Vincent. The same man who made pancakes shaped like hearts for Chloe. The same man who brought me soup when I had the flu. The same man who lied so smoothly that 2 women had been standing in separate rooms of his life, each believing she was the difficult one. That was what made it worse. He was capable of being loving. He had simply chosen when it served him. Chloe called from upstairs, "Mom." All 3 of us froze. My daughter appeared at the top of the stairs holding her stuffed rabbit by one ear. "Who's here?" I moved before Vincent could speak. "Just someone talking with us, baby. Go back to your show for a few minutes." She looked at Vincent. "Daddy, are you home?" His face softened, and for half a second I hated that too. "Yeah, bug," he said. "I'm home. Are you staying?" The question cracked something open in the room. Vincent looked at me, then back at her. "I'll come up in a little bit." Chloe nodded and disappeared down the hall. Nobody spoke until we heard her door close. I lowered my voice. "Pack a bag." Vincent stared at me. "Rebecca, pack a bag. This is still my house." "I know. That's why I said pack a bag, not get dragged out by the police." His expression hardened. "You're being emotional." I looked at Natalie, then back at him. "No. Emotional was apologizing to you when I asked if you were cheating. This is me being done." He looked like he wanted to argue. Maybe he had a whole speech ready. Something about our daughter. Something about stress. Something about how I had not been easy to live with either. But he had an audience now. Both of us were there. Both of us had seen enough. So he went upstairs. Natalie sat back down. Her hands were shaking. I didn't ask her if she was okay. She didn't ask me either. We listened to Vincent moving around above us. Drawers opening. Closet doors sliding. Footsteps crossing the floor of the bedroom we used to share before he decided the guest room made lying easier. When he came back down, he had a duffel bag over one shoulder. He looked at Natalie. "Can we talk?" She shook her head. Then he looked at me. "This isn't over." I said, "I know." And that was the scariest part. because the affair had been exposed. The lies were on the table. The girlfriend knew. I knew. But the damage was not finished. It was just finally out in the open. Vincent left with the duffel bag, but the house did not feel empty right away. It felt contaminated. His mug was still in the sink. His jacket was still hanging near the door. His shoes were still in the hallway because he only packed enough to make a point, not enough to actually leave a life. Natalie stayed in the kitchen for a few minutes after he walked out. Neither of us knew what to do with each other. She looked smaller than she had on the porch. Less like the other woman. More like someone who had just realized she was not the exception in a love story. She was part of the mess. She said, "I don't expect you to forgive me." I stared at the table. "I don't have anything to give you right now." She nodded. "I know. You knew he lived here." Her face tightened, but she didn't argue. "I did. You knew he had a child." "Yes. You knew this wasn't clean." She wiped her cheek. "I told myself it was complicated." I looked at her then. "That word seems popular today." She gave a small broken laugh, then stopped immediately like even that felt wrong. "I wanted to believe him," she said. "So did I." That was the closest thing to understanding I could offer. She picked up her phone, then paused. "I'm not going to contact you again unless you want me to." "I don't." She nodded quickly. "Okay." She walked toward the front door. Before she left, she turned back. "He told me you were cruel," she said. "He told me you made him feel invisible." I didn't answer. She looked embarrassed for saying it. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Then she left. I closed the door behind her and locked it. For a few seconds, I stood there with my hand on the deadbolt. I could hear Chloe upstairs, humming to herself. The house had gone back to quiet, but it was not peaceful. It was the quiet after something breaks and everyone pretends they didn't hear it. My phone rang. It was Vincent. I didn't answer. He called again. I didn't answer that one either. Then the text started. "You can't just kick me out. You embarrass me in front of her. We need to talk like adults. Do not poison Chloe against me." That last one made me sit down on the stairs. Poison Chloe. He had brought another woman into our marriage, lied about me for months, maybe created a new family outside our family, and his first fear was that I would make him look bad. I called my sister Amanda. The second she answered, I said, "Can you come over?" Her voice changed immediately. "What happened?" I tried to explain, but the words came out in pieces. Vincent. Girlfriend. Ex-wife. Pregnant. Kitchen. Amanda was at my house in less than 30 minutes. She didn't ask dramatic questions when she walked in. She looked at my face, then pulled me into the kind of hug that makes you realize how long you've been holding your body together. That was when I finally cried. Not gracefully. Not quietly. I cried into my sister's shoulder while my daughter watched cartoons upstairs and my marriage sat in ruins around us. Amanda stayed calm. She made tea I didn't drink. She checked on Chloe. She told her Aunt Amanda was visiting because Mom needed help with some grown-up stuff. Then she sat beside me and said, "You need a lawyer before you need another conversation with him." I nodded. She took my phone and helped me save everything Natalie had sent me before she left. Screenshots. Dates. Messages. The apology Natalie sent later that night. The text from Vincent. Every attempt he made to blame me. At some point, Chloe came downstairs with her stuffed rabbit. "Where's Dad?" My throat closed. Amanda looked at me, but she didn't answer for me. I knelt in front of Chloe. "Dad is staying somewhere else tonight." "Why?" I chose every word carefully. "Because Mom and Dad are having some adult problems, and we need space to figure things out." Her little face folded with worry. "Did I do something?" "No, baby." I pulled her into my arms. "You did nothing. This is not because of you." "Is he mad at me?" "No." "Is he mad at you?" I closed my eyes. "Maybe. But that is not your job to fix." She cried softly into my shirt. That moment hurt more than seeing the messages. Because Vincent and I were adults. We had made choices. We had histories and arguments and things we could have done differently. Chloe had none of that. She was just a little girl who wanted to know if her dad still loved her. I told her he did, because I believed that part. Vincent loved Chloe. He had just cared more about avoiding consequences than protecting her from them. That night, Amanda stayed over. Chloe slept in my bed, curled against me like she used to when she was smaller. I stared at the ceiling while my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Vincent sent long texts after midnight. He said our marriage had been broken for a while. He said he didn't mean for things to happen this way. He said Natalie showing up was manipulative. He said I should have sent her away instead of turning it into a scene. A scene. I read that word 3 times. The scene was not his pregnant girlfriend knocking on my door. The scene was me allowing reality to be witnessed. By morning, his mother Barbara had called twice. I didn't answer. She texted instead. Rebecca, I heard there was an incident. Please don't make decisions while angry. Vincent is Chloe's father. You need to think about the family. The family. I almost threw the phone. Amanda read the message and said, "Do not respond." So I didn't. That became my rule for the next 48 hours. Do not respond while shaking. Do not explain to people committed to misunderstanding. Do not give Vincent new words to twist. I met with a lawyer named Rachel 2 days later. I expected to feel humiliated walking into that office. Instead, I felt numb. Rachel was calm in a way that made me trust her. She didn't gasp. She didn't call Vincent names. She just listened, took notes, and asked questions I hadn't even thought of. Did he leave voluntarily? Yes. Did you prevent him from seeing Chloe? No. Did you threaten him? No. Do you have proof of the affair? Yes. Proof of the pregnancy? Only from Natalie's messages. Rachel nodded. Don't lock him out. Don't throw away his things. Don't post about this. Don't argue in writing unless necessary. Keep everything about Chloe calm and documented. That advice probably saved me from making mistakes. Because I wanted to be messy. I wanted to send the screenshots to every person who texted me about protecting Vincent's reputation. I wanted to ask Barbara if she was proud of the son who told another woman I was an unstable ex-wife squatting in my own home. I wanted everyone to know exactly what he had done. Instead, I stayed quiet. Not forgiving. Strategic. Vincent hated that more than yelling. He came by 3 days later to pick up more clothes. Amanda was there with me because I did not want to be alone with him. He walked in looking exhausted, but I knew him well enough to see the performance underneath it. He wanted to look like a broken man, not a caught one. Can we talk? He asked. I said, about Chloe, yes. His eyes flicked to Amanda. Do we need an audience? Amanda smiled without warmth. Yes. He sighed. I'm not your enemy, Rebecca. I almost laughed. You made me the villain in your affair. His mouth tightened. I said things because I was trying to explain a complicated situation. You told her I was your ex-wife. He looked away. I was trying to get there. To divorce. Yes. Then you should have told your wife before getting a girlfriend pregnant. He flinched, but only a little. Amanda stood near the counter with her arms crossed. She didn't jump in. She didn't have to. Vincent lowered his voice. I didn't plan this. That's not comforting. I know I hurt you. No, I said. You hurt me, lied about me, used Chloe as an excuse, and now you're upset that people might know. His face hardened. This is exactly what I mean. You make it impossible to be honest. That old trick again. For years, he had used that sentence like a locked door. You make it impossible. You always react. You turn everything into a fight. But something had changed in me. Seeing the messages killed the part of me that still wanted his approval. I said, I'm not discussing our marriage without lawyers. He stared at me. Our marriage? Yes. So that's it? I looked at him, really looked at him. I wanted to feel something clean. Hate would have been easier. But what I felt was grief, disgust, and a strange pity I didn't want. That was up to you, I said. You made your choices before I ever opened the door. He didn't answer. He packed another bag and left. After that, the story started spreading in pieces. Vincent told his family we had been separated emotionally for years. Barbara told relatives I had humiliated him while he was already fragile. One mutual friend, Melissa, called and said she wasn't taking sides, which of course meant she was about to take one. I just think, she said carefully, letting Natalie sit in your kitchen was a lot. I was folding Chloe's laundry when she said it. A lot. She's pregnant, Rebecca. You knew that must have been traumatic for her too. I stopped folding. She told me she was pregnant after I let her in. Melissa went quiet. I continued, and even after that, what was I supposed to do? Protect Vincent from the consequences of lying to both of us. I'm not saying that. You kind of are. She sighed. I just think some things should be handled privately. I looked at the tiny socks in my hands. Vincent made me the villain privately for months. I didn't invite an audience. His lie walked up to my door. Melissa didn't have much to say after that. A week later, Vincent's brother Samuel called me. I almost didn't answer, but Samuel had always been quieter than the rest of them. Less dramatic. Less loyal to the family script. He said, I'm sorry. I sat down on the edge of the bed. For what? For believing him. My chest tightened. What did he tell you? Samuel exhaled. That you and him were basically done. That you were living separate lives. That he was staying for Chloe until you both figured out the house. I closed my eyes. So Natalie wasn't the only one. He had been laying the groundwork everywhere. How long has he been saying that? Samuel paused. Since around February. February. That was before I confronted him. Before he moved fully into the guest room. Before he looked me in the face and said I was paranoid. Samuel said, I should have asked you. I didn't because it sounded personal. I'm sorry. I believed him. That apology mattered more than he probably knew. Not because it fixed anything, but because it confirmed I had not imagined the slow rewriting of my life. Vincent had not panicked and lied once. He had built an exit story brick by brick, then acted shocked when I stepped into it. Natalie sent one more message. I saw her name on my phone and felt my stomach drop. Rebecca, I won't bother you after this. I just wanted you to know I ended it with him. I don't know what I'm doing about the pregnancy yet, and I'm not asking anything from you. I believed him because I wanted to. That's on me. But he lied about you in ways I can't ignore now. I'm sorry for coming to your house, but I'm also glad I did. I hope you and Chloe are okay. I read it twice. Then I put the phone down. I did not reply. There are people who will say that was cold. Maybe it was. But I had no comfort left to hand out. Whatever Natalie did next was her life. Whatever happened with the pregnancy was between her, Vincent, and the future they had created. My job was Chloe. My job was myself. Not Vincent's image. Not Natalie's guilt. Not Barbara's embarrassment. The next few weeks were ugly in a quiet way. Vincent wanted to come over whenever he felt guilty. Rachel helped me set boundaries. Chloe saw him on scheduled days. I kept my voice calm during exchanges, even when I wanted to ask if his new life was worth the look on our daughter's face. He tried once to hug me in the driveway. I stepped back. He looked offended. Really? I said, don't. He dropped his arms. I miss my family. That one almost got me. Not because I wanted him back. Because I miss my family too. I miss the version where we made pancakes on Saturdays and complained about the leaky faucet. I missed watching him carry Chloe on his shoulders. I miss thinking the guest room was just a bad season, not a waiting room for betrayal. But missing something does not mean it still exists. I said, you should have thought about that when you were telling people I was your ex-wife. His face changed. He had no answer for that. The calm victory came on a Thursday afternoon. Nothing dramatic happened. Rachel called and said the temporary custody arrangement was moving forward cleanly. Vincent had agreed to keep communication in writing. The house situation would take time, but I was not being pushed out. Chloe had started sleeping through the night again. Amanda brought groceries without making a big deal out of it. Samuel checked in once, just to ask if Chloe needed help fixing the chain on her little bike. Life did not magically become good, but it became mine again. That night, I took my wedding ring off. I had been wearing it out of habit. Maybe out of denial. Maybe because removing it felt like admitting something I wasn't ready to say out loud. I stood in the kitchen, the same place Natalie had sat with her phone and shaking hands, and slid the ring into the small drawer beside the sink. No speech. No big breakdown. Just a soft click as the drawer closed. Chloe was at the table coloring. She looked up and asked, Mom, are you sad? I sat beside her. Sometimes. Because Dad doesn't live here? I breathed carefully. Partly. She colored a purple sun in the corner of the page. Are we still a family? That question hurt, but not in the same sharp way as before. This time, I knew the answer. Yes, I said. You and me are family. Dad is your family too. It just looks different now. She thought about that. Then she pushed a crayon toward me. Can you color with me? So I did. And for the first time in weeks, I was fully there. Not checking Vincent's location in my head. Not wondering if his silence meant stress or betrayal. Not trying to prove I was lovable to someone who had turned me into a villain because it made his affair easier. Just sitting beside my daughter, coloring inside crooked lines, breathing in a house that finally knew the truth. I don't know what people will think of me. Some will say I should have shut the door in Natalie's face. Some will say I humiliated Vincent by letting the confrontation happen in our kitchen. Some will say Natalie was a victim too. Others will say she knew enough and ignored the warning signs because she wanted to believe him. Maybe all of that is partly true. I am not proud of every feeling I had that day. I wanted him exposed. I wanted Natalie to see the fridge, the cereal bowl, the drawings, the proof that I was not some unstable ex-wife haunting his life. I wanted one person in his other world to look at me and know I was real. Maybe that was revenge. If it was quieter than what he deserved. Because I did not destroy his reputation. I did not invent a story. I simply opened the door and let the truth sit at my kitchen table. And now Vincent is angry because the woman he lied to met the wife he lied about. So tell me honestly, was I wrong for letting his pregnant girlfriend come inside and confront him with me there, instead of protecting his reputation and handling it privately?